Hi everybody, Ashley here. So I was in my reading today and I'm reading Psalm 105. So the scripture that I really liked, I liked the whole psalm, but the one that had me reflecting was, remember the wonders he has done, his miracles and the judgments he pronounced. And that's Psalm 105 verse 5. And I looked into the word pronounced. Now, I've used the word before, but I was just curious to know the definition as it pertains to the verse, and pronounced means certain and noticeable. So then that made me think, reflecting on the miracles that God has brought us through and brought us to, it's really important to focus on, and to also take notice of the judgments and the ways that he protects us. When we're in the middle of our biggest fights, when you aren't where you want to be, just know that God has you exactly where you need to be. And you don't know it at the time because it's painful and you don't understand it and you just feel like you're suffering. Sometimes you can't see the miracles or the vindication, and that's probably the hardest part of the walk. Learning to suffer well and to be content taught me that even when you can't see it, when you walk by faith and not by sight, it's important to thank God anyway, to declare victory over your circumstances and thank him for the vindication, and thank him for the miracles that you can't see and the ways that he is working. So when I was reading through this psalm, there were a lot of examples of the way that God pronounces his judgments, and some are really noticeable. At the time, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like you're going through the worst part of your life. But I want to remind you, and I often have to remind myself, that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's the same God that led the Israelites out of Egypt. He fought for them every step of the way, down to being the actual fire that provided light as they walked through the wilderness. He became the swirling wind that separated them from the Egyptians, from the enemies, the people that were trying to destroy them. He sent plagues to them, to the Egyptians, fighting for the Israelites to get out. And, I can't imagine what that feels like, but I know that we all have our own form of the wilderness and our own form of suffering, and how amazing it must have been to witness God in a form of a fire walking beside them so they wouldn't be in the pitch black darkness of the wilderness, or watching him transform into a swirling, powerful wind. And I think to myself that we serve a God that is just so powerful and yet so gentle that he can be a fire or a tornado or the sun or the birds or the flowers, the grass, the breeze. Miracles don't always look like what they think they're going to look like. They don't always look like the promise that we're waiting for. But as we go through this journey, we start to open our eyes to God's ways. And they're so beautiful. It's like you learn to live, to truly live, and search for him throughout your day, and you're just pleasantly surprised that he is everywhere. As I was reading through this psalm and reflecting, the song that popped into my head was The Goodness by Blessing Offer and Toby Mac. Just a few lyrics were, just playing over and over in my head, and when I looked it up, it was just so cool that it had everything to do with what I was reflecting on and reading, that God is the goodness in our life, that no matter what is happening, he is the center. He is our miracle. He is the goodness in everything. So I want to encourage you to think about what your attitude is like when you don't have what you want right now, or when the last time you sat down and thanked God for what you have or what you don't have, or the ways that he's showing up for you, and how you have been willing to submit to his ways even when you don't like it. I'm sure that Israelites did not like having to travel through the wilderness, carrying their homes on their back, and had no idea how they were going to eat or drink every day. But God provided every day, and it was the ultimate test of their trust and endurance and perseverance. And I just think it's so cool how God is really truly in the center of everything if we just stop to slow down and stop complaining, pay attention to our attitudes and our heart posture, and he's right there waiting for us. Well, hope you enjoyed that reflection.